start now, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Whatever you say, I can start.
Hello, everyone. Present here virtually. I am Pallavi here, and I welcome you all for today's session, which is titled as Exploring Different Dimensions of Intimacy Among Adolescents, a Sociological Study. And presenting this session, we have with us our today's expert, Miss Madhurima Das Gupta. Ms. Madhurima Das Gupta is presently working as an assistant professor under the Department of Social Science Sociology, School of Liberal Art and Culture Studies at Adamas University. Research work on construction of masculinity among schoolboys is the first of its kind in India, Kolkata. Without wasting much time, I am welcome to Ms. Madhurima Das Gupta. You may start now, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Business Rojgar and Pallavi ma'am, for giving me this exposure to speak on such a pertinent issue, on a very sociologically relevant issue in present society. The topic for today is entitled Exploring Different Dimensions of Intimacy Among Adolescents, a Sociological Study or Inquiry. Since I have written an article on sociology of human intimacy, so I thought of exploring this aspect because this is a very unexplored arena in sociology in India, in West Bengal as well. So I begin my lecture. Firstly, introducing you with what do we mean by intimacy? What comes to our mind when we talk about intimacy? Now, the term intimacy comes from the Latin term intimus, which means innermost or inmost. That means the kind of relationship or closeness we share with any person. We can be intimate with our family member, be it a father, mother, or brother, sister, anyone. We can be intimate with our friends. We can be intimate with our spouses, with our partners, before or after marriage. So there can be different forms of intimacy, like different types of closeness. Intimacy means closeness, proximity. So intimacy can be emotional and cognitive. So this closeness can be physical, it can be sexual, and it also can be emotional intimacy. And intimacy can be understood through various kinds of emotions like love, caring, affection towards friends, family, close associates, and even our neighbors. Now, it is very important to know about the historical backdrop of intimacy because any concept has a historical origin. So what is the historical origin of intimacy? Philosophically speaking, the concept of intimacy mainly originated in the works of Greek philosophers Plato and Aristotle during the 4th and 5th centuries before Christ. So both Plato and Aristotle, they actually talked about intimacy, like though Aristotle discussed about the nature of love, but Plato discussed about the nature of friendship, because later on I will speak as to how friendship culminates into intimate relationship. This idealism of philosophy mainly started rising about love, friendship since the 16th and the 17th centuries. Now you see, this was about the historical background of intimacy in a nutshell. Now, this concept of intimacy gained momentum, or rather, started evolving and changing gradually with the profound impact of globalization. I repeat, with the profound impact of globalization. Now, what do we mean by globalization? Globalization signifies international interdependence. That means where there is opening up of world trade, that means there is interchange of ideas, products, and services. So opening up of world trade and exchange of goods and services. Not only goods and services, there is also exchange of ideas. So that is globalization. Now, this globalization has completely, restructured the entire capitalist market in congenial with the socio-technical systems of rapid transportation, different forms of mass media communication. So we can say that globalization has also given birth or given rise to global media. Global media. Now, what is this global media? Global media helps to, if I talk about in general sense, mass media helps to convey any kind of information to us about any facts or any kind of events. So the major task of global media is to inform all kinds of information globally. That is what is happening around the world. Other than that, global media also circulates stereotypical ideals of intimate relationship. That means stereotypical ideals meaning what? That is, a partner or heterosexual partner can only have intimate relation. It is not, diversified among the homosexual partners. So global media always tries to portray the stereotypical intimate relationship among the heterosexual partners, mainly projecting marriage. However, now anthropologists, they are also mapping the dialectic between the new expectations about the quality of personal relations fueled by mass media images of intimacy. So that means globalization is trying to transform the entire dimension of intimate relation. How it is transforming? I'm coming to it. Now coming to what are the different stages of intimacy. Now you see various scholars and researchers have identified that intimacy or intimate relationship mainly goes through three major stages. First is casual dating. So for example, if I say, if today a female partner gets into a relation with a male partner, I'm just talking about heterosexual relation now, and they interact with each other, they develop friendship towards each other, and they start dating each other. Maybe they are not serious about it, but they love to spend time with each other. Slowly and gradually, they step into serious dating. Serious dating is where they become extremely serious about their relationship. They want to think about the future of their relation. They want to give it a name. They want to legalize their relation. And it was at that point of time that they think about marriage. So that is how intimacy evolves from casual dating to just knowing each other, interacting with them, to serious dating, to thinking about their future, to become compatible, to become, extremely emotionally attached. And finally, that they think about that they can give a name, they can legalize their relationship in the form of marriage. So these are the stages of intimacy for heterosexual couples. So what about the homosexual couples? Don't they also go through these stages of intimacy? Homosexual couples, that is same-sex couples, many a times they cannot legally marry because there are many countries that do not allow or have not legalized their homosexual marriages. But they can have a strong and committed relationship. So instead of marriage, this fourth stage, they can casually date each other, they can get into the serious dating, and finally they can be in a committed relationship. They can cohabit together. Any cohabiting couple, be it a homosexual or heterosexual, they might not think about marriage, because nowadays, with the rising dimensions, different dimensions of intimate relationship, marriage as a sacrament is reducing because people have a number of choices. People want to free themselves. They do not want to go through sacrifice and compromise, especially women. They want freedom. They want to live their life independently. And many times that is not possible after marriage because of various family constraints, be it by the in-laws, husbands, or the children. So this last stage of marriage can be changed to the stage of committed stage in order to reflect the relationship stages. Next, coming to the different forms or dimensions of intimate relation in present society. Now, it has been hypothesized that there are mainly 6 styles of love or intimate relationship. What are they? Firstly, eros, which is erotic love. Now, erotic love is mainly grounded on physical intimacy. There is only sexual intimacy involved between the partners. There is no emotional intimacy or cognitive intimacy, nothing. People are together because they get sexual pleasure from each other partners. Okay. Second is ludus, L-U-D-U-S, which means game playing love. Game playing meaning that means both the partners are involved, male and the female, just for the sake of having good time together. They go around together, have coffee, hang around, interact with each other. They feel good about each other, but they're not serious about each other. They are just having fun in their own life. They're having a good time together. That is gameplay. And many a times it happens that why it is gameplay, because that partner might spend that same amount of time with some other partners as well. So not serious about one particular partner, but having fun with several partners. It's like polygamy before marriage. Third is storge, S-T-O-R-G-E, storge meaning friendship love. This is a very important form of an intimacy, which we can see in present society. That is people, I can say that both the partners, they have become good friends. They develop good friendship, but do not want to term it as love or relationship unless and until they're emotionally or physically attached with each other. So if they are good friends, that can be termed as storge, friendship love. Next is mania, M-A-N-I-A. It means a jealous form of a love. So for example, a male partner is having a good time with the female partner's friend. Many times a female partner becomes jealous. It happens vice versa as well. So that is a jealous form of a love. It comes from suspicion. Definitely it comes from, love or kind of attachment with the partner. Next is agape, A-G-A-P-E. Agape is altruistic love. Now, what do we mean by the term altruism? Altruism is a concept which we find in a very renowned work of Emil Durkheim's work on suicide, where he talked about altruistic suicide. So altruistic means where other people's needs, wants are given more importance than oneself. So if I'm an altruistic lover, so I will think more about the society, more about the people whom I love, and I will not think about myself. My desires, my needs are not as important as the needs of all the people whom I love. So that is altruistic form of love, where you are giving priority to others than your own self. And finally, pragma, P-R-A-G-M-A, meaning practical love, where you're becoming very practical with your partner. That means, emotions, maybe you have emotional attachment with your partner, but emotions are not so important. You become very practical. Like, you discuss with your partner that definitely we are emotionally attached, but we have to think practically. We have to think about our future. We have to think that we are living in a society. So definitely we have to sort this out. So these are the different styles of love which has emerged in present society: eros, lyrus, storge, mania, agape, and pragma. And out of all these, we mainly find storge, which is prevalent in present society. Though, other forms of love also exist, but storge is highly predominant. Next, coming to how intimacy has transformed in the present society with regard to its different dimensions. Now, this concept of transformation of intimacy has been very well elaborately explained by a very renowned sociologist, Anthony Giddens, in his famous book, The Transformation of Intimacy, Sexuality, Love, and Eroticism in Modern Societies, which was published in the year 1992. And in this book, he explicitly explained about how intimacy is gradually evolving and changing from one social stage to another. So what did he mean by transformation of intimacy? According to him, transformation of intimacy means how intimate relationships have transformed from pre-modern, that is, historical, to modern and late modern or post-modern society. So with intimacy, the lifestyles, the nature, attitude, behavior, and emotions towards intimate relationships have also undergone major changes in the postmodern or the late modern society. Now, coming to how scholars have classified different types of intimacy. Now, scholars have mainly classified intimacy into 4 types. 4. The first one is physical intimacy. I repeat, the first one is physical intimacy. Physical intimacy, going by the term itself, it means sexual proximity or which takes place through the means of bodily contact between 2 partners. It can be between 2 heterosexual partners. It can be between 2 homosexual partners as well. So that includes where one is engaging into someone's personal space, holding hands, hugging, kissing, or any kinds of sexual or bodily activities. Now, remember what happened during COVID pandemic, though it is not much related to it. What happened during COVID pandemic? We were completely locked down within the 4 walls of the room. We were confined. So there was no physical intimacy. There was no physical interaction, no face-to-face communication. That is why, people suffered from anxiety, depression, being surrounded by negativity. Throughout the day, we used to hear about the news of COVID, which engulfed negativity in our mind. And remember, according to Aristotle, man is a social animal. So we are all social beings. If there is no physical touch, if we do not hug each other, if there is no physical gesture, then definitely, it is very difficult for a man to survive in a society. Because after all, society involves a group of interactive individuals. If there is no social interaction between or among the individuals, no society can be formed. So that is why physical intimacy is the first type of intimacy, where there is only where the intimate relationship is completely grounded on only sexual proximity, through kissing, through hugging, or on other kinds of sexual bodily activities. Second is emotional intimacy. Now, according to scholars, they have found out that emotional intimacy develops after two partners engages in sexual relationship, but the vice versa can happen as well. Both the partners can become emotionally involved, then after that they can become sexually involved as well. And many a times both the partners, though they're emotionally involved, they are not sexually involved in their relationship. So emotional intimacy develops after a certain level of trust has been reached and personal relation has been established. And in emotional intimacy, social interaction is very important, because this emotional intimacy has a social dimension which is driven by talk, which follows from regular physical closeness or sexual union. So if both the partners are sexually involved with each other, they definitely get into some kind of social interaction, after which they are, physically close or, sexually intimate with each other. So that is emotional intimacy. And definitely when both the partners are compatible, when a certain amount of trust and compatibility has been reached, then only they can be emotionally attached with each other. Emotional attachment comes, right, like it culminates from the trust and compatibility. So that is emotional intimacy. Third is cognitive or intellectual intimacy. Now, this type of intimacy takes place when two people exchange their thoughts, share their ideas along with their similarities and dissimilarities. And if they can do it in a comfortable manner, they definitely become intimate in an intellectual area. So, for example, if I'm sitting with my colleague in the staff room, just as an example I'm giving, I'm exchanging my thoughts, we are sharing each other's ideas, and we are enjoying our similarities and dissimilarities. We are believed to be in a cognitive or intellectual intimate relationship. It can happen between two heterosexual partners. It can happen between two homosexual partners as well. Fourth is experiential intimacy. Experiential intimacy. Now, this is when two people get together to actively involve themselves with each other, but they do not have so much of interaction with each other. They do not share so much of thoughts, so much of feelings, but they are involved in mutual activities with one another. So, for example, if I say two house painters, they are painting the walls, be the wall or the house. They are, placed beside each other, but they do not interact much with each other. But they are in an intimate relationship. They're doing some kind of similar activities. Another example can be two colleagues traveling together in a bus. It can be any kind of a bus. Though they are not interacting much with each other, they do not have, they are not sharing so much of thoughts, and they do not have so much of feelings with each other. But maybe the activities which they are doing, it's similar. Maybe the two colleagues, they are, sitting beside each other. Both of them are checking their mobile phones or checking the laptop and doing official kind of a work. So they are believed to be in an intimate relationship that is known as experiential intimacy. Okay, and that can also be termed as platonic friendship. That means you are interacting, but on a lesser manner, and it's platonic because there is no kind of physical touch, emotional connection involved. So these are the four forms of intimacy as identified by the scholars: physical, emotional, cognitive, and experiential intimacy. And all these forms of intimacy can be highly noticed in present society. And finally, coming to about how intimate relationship has transformed among the adolescents. Since I have written a paper, as I was saying in the beginning of my lecture, on sociology of human intimacy, there I did a research among around 50 college-going boys and girls, and I have asked them about how has intimate relationship transformed from the pre-modern to the late or the postmodern society. And what they have revealed, I will be discussing. Now, firstly, coming to when I talk about the postmodern society. So what do we mean by postmodernism? The term postmodernism in sociological terms, it was first coined by Jean-Francois Lyotard, who was a postmodernist. In the book, The Postmodern Condition, a report on knowledge. So what is postmodern society? It is the economic or cultural condition which is considered to exist in the Western society after modernity or modern society. So postmodernity culminates after modernity. And in postmodernity,
yeah, sorry for the disturbing, ma'am. Your slide is not changing, ma'am. PPT slide.
Okay, which slide is there?
First, ma'am.
But here it is showing it's changing.
First page of your PPT.
Now is it showing?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Now you can continue.
Okay. So postmodernism was first coined in the Sociological and Philosophical Lexicon in the year 1979 in the work The Postmodern Conditional Report on Knowledge, and the first postmodernist was Jean-Francois Lyotard. And what is a postmodern society? It is the economic or cultural condition which is considered to exist in the Western society after modernity. So the era which exists after modernity and which puts greater emphasis on cultural and the economic conditions of individuals. And after Lyotard, there were many other sociologists like Ulrich Beck, Sigmund Bauman, and Anthony Giddens, who repudiated the concept of post-modernity. Ulrich Beck here, he is renowned for his concept of risk society, where he talked about as to how the present society is engulfed by various risks. There can be environmental risks, there can be individual risks. Second is Zygmunt Bauman, who extensively worked on the concepts of liquid modernity and liquid love, where he said that how human relationships are becoming fragile because of certain aspects of unpredictability, unsafety, and uncertainty. And thirdly, Anthony Giddens, which I have discussed as to how he explained how intimacy has transformed because of eroticism. And we will explore more of these theories in the later slides. Now coming to the research work which I conducted as to what are the different types of intimate relationship which has emerged among the adolescent boys and girls. So majority of the adolescent boys and girls have cited mainly 4 types of intimate relationships which has evolved among the adolescents. The first type is confluent love, CONFLUENT, confluent love. Now what does this confluent love means? Confluent love means that nowadays in present society, people no longer engage into long-lasting relationship, or even if they engage into long-lasting relationship, it is very difficult for them to endure it just for the sake of sacrifice and compromise. People don't actually engage in relationship, and they do not work wholeheartedly in a one-sided manner when there is no affection from the other side. That is because now people have more choices, which was not possible historically. If you remember the time of our parents or grandparents, they used to stay together because there was no choices. But now individuals have a lot of choices. Earlier, in earlier societies, in pre-modern societies, divorce was regarded as a social stigma. It was a stigma, it was a label, which kind of became a master status, which colored all other statuses. So anybody who would be a divorcee in a pre-modern society would be stigmatized. But now, married couple are no longer bound to stay together if the relationship does not work. So for example, if the marriage is very toxic, it's becoming toxic either for the male or the female spouse, one of them walks out in order to liberate themselves from the toxic relationship. Because nowadays, divorce is no longer stigma. It kind of liberates women or men from the toxic relationship, more so for women. Because, you know, no matter how much we talk about equality, a woman is someone who has actually is socially expected, rather she is socially constructed to always abide by the traits of femininity, to be very soft, very docile, very submissive, not to raise her voice, not to wear exposing clothes in public, should always respect her parents, then the in-laws, husband, should always try to be a very pativrata, you know, devotee kind of a wife towards the husband, would always try to serve the husband and would not raise her voice against any form of domestic abuse, harassment in the family. So that is why divorce is no longer a stigma. It liberates both the partners from the toxic relationship. And that is why there is a rise of separation or divorce. And that is why confluent love is also rising. Next type of relationship, as pointed out by the teenagers, are pure relationship. Now, though this pure relationship has evolved long back, Giddens also talks about this pure relationship as well as confluent love in his work, The Transformation of Intimacy. Now, what is this pure relationship? Going by the term itself, pure, it has some divinity attached with it. It is very sacred. And whenever the term sacred comes, what comes to our mind? Marriage. Because marriage is regarded as a sacrament. It is still regarded as sacred. even in today's society, there I have seen, like personally, many couples who thinks many times before dissolving the marriage, because they think that it is very, it is kind of like, it is not traditional, or rather it is very, what can I say? It is very difficult for them to accept the fact that they cannot, they want to dissolve this, pure relationship. And marriage is extremely pure. It is regarded as a sacrament. Okay, so this pure relationship, its key sustaining dynamics are self-disclosure and appreciation of each other's unique qualities. So a pure relationship remains divine as long as both the partners appreciate each other's qualities, appreciate each other's activities. And the moment there is no romantic passion in the relation, that is the time when pure relationship declines. So both the partners stay in the pure relationship of marriage because they choose to do so. In pre-modern society, our parents or grandparents, they lived together because they did not want to dissolve the union. They thought that if they sacrifice and compromise, that will at least sustain it. And maybe because also many times their family did not support it, they did not have a strong job security. Many of the times our parents and grandparents, they did not have proper jobs. So it was not easier for them to walk out because there were not many options available. Marriage was the only liable option for them. So that is pure relationship. Now there is a diverse form of pure relationship, one of them being obviously marriage, which I was talking about. And this pure relationship not only exists among the heterosexual couples, in some forms it exists among the homosexual couples as well. So in some forms, same-sex relations, due to their open and negotiated status, they come close to the ideal of pure relationship. So maybe they do not get married, but they get into a committed relationship where both the partners appreciate each other's quality. That is pure relationship, which exists in present society as well. Third is very important, which is known as plastic sexuality. Plastic sexuality. This concept of plastic sexuality was developed theoretically by the sociologist Anthony Giddens. Now, what does the term plastic means? What do we understand by plastic? Whenever we use a plastic, when we use it, it tears apart, isn't it? It is not so strong, it's not so enduring. It tears very easily with the help of our hands or our nails. So plastic means malleability of erotic expression in terms of both individual choice and framework of social norms in sociological terms. So here for Giddens, plastic sexuality is the result of effective contraception because it liberates men and women from the constraints of traditional gender expectations. We know that in present society, there is a increasing use of contraceptives, both by male and female. Male use condoms, while women use pills. Why do they use it? Because many a times they do not want to undergo the process of reproduction. They just want to engage into physical intimacy for the purpose of their sexual pleasure. So this plastic sexuality actually talks about the contraceptives, which liberates men and women from the issues of reproduction, the complications of repetitive childbirths and pregnancies of women. So it actually disengages sex from reproduction to increase the emphasis on pleasure. So it gives a kind of an autonomous sexuality, because autonomous sexuality means that pleasure is the overriding factor. Because nowadays couples, or rather teenagers, they engage into sexual relation only for the purpose of pleasure. Maybe they don't even think about the long-lasting relation. Even if they think about, maybe at some point of time their relationship declines. So what they get is pleasure. That is why plastic sexuality. So this is partly due to the improved methods of contraception, which has largely freed women from the fear of repetitive childbirths and pregnancies. So a woman can become pregnant by becoming sexually intimate. That is why they use the contraceptives, they use pills, or the male partners, they use condoms. So this plastic sexuality has come into existence not only due to technological developments, but it has also led to the development of sense of self that could be actually chosen. A sense of self has evolved because of plastic sexuality. That means a new self which emphasizes more on sexual pleasure than on reproductive complications. That is plastic sexuality, a new term which has come into existence. Next is liquid love. Remember, I was talking about Sigmund Bauman's concept of liquid modernity and liquid love. Now, the term liquid love was highly explained by Polish sociologist Sigmund Bauman in his work, Liquid Love on the Frailty of Human Bonds. And in this book, he discussed about the liquid modernity. Now, what is this liquid modernity? Liquid modernity is mainly based on three aspects. What are they? Firstly, uncertainty. We know that in our present society, anything and everything is uncertain. People are uncertain about their job positions, about their status in the society. Even our life has become uncertain. And simultaneously, human intimate relations have also become uncertain. A couple who has been together for 25 years might get divorced after 25 years. Or rather, a couple who is together for 6 months might get into a long-lasting enduring relationship. So human relationships have also become very uncertain. The second one is unsafety. You know that nobody in our society is safe, be it in the public or the private sphere. And this exists more for women than for men. Because in a patriarchal society, women are always subjected to different kinds of violence, different forms of crime. In the private sphere, they are subjected to domestic violence, even sexual harassment by their family members, dowry death. And outside the private sphere, that is in the public sphere, they are subjected to rape, acid attack. And rape can exist both in the public as well as the private sphere. Many of the married women, they are subjected to marital rape after marriage, which is not legalized in a country like India. Because still in this society, patriarchal society, women are always socially constructed to treat their husband as next to God, even if their husband is an abuser, domestic abuser. Okay, so that means unsafety. So just like, nobody is safe in our society, mostly for women. They are not even safe when they are in a relationship. Many a times when both male and female are in a relationship, the female partners are subjected to date rape, D-A-T-E-R-A-P-E. Now, what is this date rape? Date rape means where they are subjected to molestation, they're subjected to rape by the male partner, and it happens against her consent. And this is completely, continuously accelerating day by day. Though it is not such a new concept, but yes, the terminology is very much new. So that is date rape. That is why unsafety. Third is unpredictability. Nothing is predictable in our society. We do not know what will happen to us in the next moment. I don't know whether I will be in this job, I will be in this city in the next few months as well. Everything is unpredictable. The same is for human relationship. The same is for human intimacy. Nothing is predictable in human intimate relations as well. A couple who is together for 10 years might not be together from the 11th year as well. They might become incompatible. Okay, so that is why liquid modernity is based on three aspects: uncertainty, unsafety, and unpredictability. So here, from liquid modernity comes the concept of liquid love, according to Bauman. And liquid love means where man or a woman, they have no such bonds, no such enduring bonds to endure their ties together. So they don't have any kind of fixed or durable bonds that would allow the effort of self-definition and self-assertion to come to a rest. So with no permanent bonds, the denizen of a liquid modern society must tie whatever bonds they want to engage with others. So people are no longer seriously involved in a relationship with the partner. They are just involved as long as the relationship gives them pleasure, both physically, emotionally. And once the relationship does not give them any kind of pleasure, there is no trust or compatibility, they just walk out of the relationship. That is liquid love. Relationships are becoming fragile. It is becoming very disbalanced, tumultuous. The sustenance, the durability of the relationship is declining. It is diminishing. Bauman argues that in a world of individualization, definitely our world is dominated by individualization. We are becoming very individualistic. We are thinking more about our individual self. We are becoming self-centered than we are thinking about the collectivity, collective whole. So nowadays, human relationships are mixed blessings. They are filled with conflicting desires. We are always, we have a lot of expectations and we are always thinking about our self-respect or maybe about what we are getting from the relationship. Okay, so in our present day relationship, there is the desire for freedom as well as there is desire for greater security. So on one hand, we are getting security from our partner, but on the other hand, if our partner abuses us, then we want to free ourselves from that particular relationship. So Bohrman argues that we are swinging back and forth between two polarities of security and freedom. At one point, we want security. At the other point, we want to be free because we cannot handle so much of abuses. So it's a kind of a perpetual, or we can say a confused state of a mind which goes through in present day relationships. That is liquid love, where human intimate relations have become fragile. Now, another form of relation which comes under liquid love is top pocket relationship. Top pocket relationship means which are again very temporary, expendable nature. They are very sweet and short-lived. They are an embodiment of instant and disposable. Any relation that we enter into, it is like it goes on for a few days or so, for a few months, and after that, if we do not want to be involved in the relationship, we walk out of the relationship. So there is no love at first sight, no falling in love, no sudden tide of emotions. We are not emotionally attached. It just once we are done with the benefits, we walk out of the relationship. And there are such relationships which exist among the adolescent boys and girls as well in present society. So this top pocket relationship is based on convenience. As long as both the partners are convenient to each other, the relationship sustains. The moment they are not convenient, it drops down. So it is based on lack of commitment to thrive. That is liquid love, according to Sigmund Bauman. And finally comes chaotic relationship, which has evolved among the adolescent boys and girls. Now, this chaotic relationship has been highly discussed in the work The Normal Chaos of Love by Beck and Bernsheimer, who examine the tumultuous nature of personal relations, marriages, and family patterns, which are extremely changing against the backdrop of a rapidly changing world. As I said that this, the impact of globalization has been very much profound on present day intimate relationships. That is why it has brought about a major impact on personal relations, marriages, and family patterns, because of which new family patterns, new forms of relationships are evolving, which I have discussed. So the traditions, rules, and regulations which used to guide personal relationships, they no longer apply. Nowadays, marriage is no longer a sacrament. They are just entered into voluntarily. They are not entered for the purpose of their family. They are entered because of, with the consent of both the partners. Okay, and many a times if they are entered by the family due to the urge of the family, either it brings freedom for both the partners or it brings about new strains. Either it frees both the partners and they are united, or it leads to some kind of conflict between the two spouses, married spouses. That is chaotic relationship. It is creating a chaos. People are no longer satisfied. They are just getting into a relationship either by the urge of their family, or they are doing it for their own needs. They are being in the relationship as long as they're finding it compatible, and they are dissolving it whenever they are not compatible, because now they have an endless series of choices. Remember, I was talking about confident love choice, and these choices are making the relationship very much chaotic. Okay, so it is a part of constructing, adjusting, improving, or dissolving the union that they formed with others. They're constructing it, trying to adjust with their partner, maybe at times improve their relationship. And if they find no means of improvement, they're dissolving the union with their partners. So that is creating more chaos, not only in their mind, but in human intimate relationship as well, according to Beck and Bernsheimer. So these are the major 5 types of human intimate relations cited by adolescent boys and girls. Earlier, I talked about the different styles of love, then the different types of intimacy pointed out by the scholars. So finally, I can conclude my lecture by saying that since our present, or we can say since our country, India, is a developing country where most of the people are poor and illiterate, they cannot handle or understand the complications of these transformation of intimate relationship because they are not aware. They are not educated. They do not know about the repercussions or impact or consequences of these forms of intimacy. And many a times they get involved into such intimate relationships. And whenever, both the male and female teenagers, they get involved, There are various repercussions and consequences which takes place. They are subjected to problems like suicide. Many a times they take course to suicide. They suffer from depression, anxiety. And also there is increase of teenage pregnancy rates. Nowadays, teenage pregnancies are rising high, and it becomes very difficult for a female teenager to handle such pregnancy, because it produces a massive impact on their physical as well as mental health, and ultimately on their social health. So that is why I can conclude by saying that intimacy, or the system of human intimate relationships, may be changed or transformed, but one should not ignore the negative impact of such relationship. So whenever we step into any kind of relationship with one partner or more than one partner, because nowadays, there is sexual intimate relationship with more than one partner, which is termed as polyamory, Polyomary, polyamory. But still, even if we engage into such relationship, we should always keep in mind about the negative impact. Especially women should keep in mind more about the negative impact. And one should also know that self-control and self-consciousness are extremely necessary in this respect. So with this, I end my lecture. These are some of the references which I referred for my lecture. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Business Rojgar and Pallavi ma'am again for this exposure and invitation. Thank you so much. I'll be ready to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this very nice session. If anyone has any question, you can ask.
Ma'am, actually, I have posted few questions in the chat section.
Okay. Yes, so moving to your first question, that with the advent of artificial intelligence, when a chunk of youth is engrossed in it, they don't want any physical partner to interact with. They are essentially replacing it with an automated humanoid robot. Then how the dimensions are changing. Now you see, humanoid robot means what? Who is actually will be doing all the activities which the other partner desires. So maybe, the other partner do not want a human being as a partner. So humanoid, they want a humanoid so that that robot can listen to all of their instructions. So maybe their physical intimacy is not so important, but the other forms of intimacy, the partner will be getting from that robot. The cognitive intimacy, experiential intimacy, and all forms of intimacy. Are you getting it?
Yeah, I have got, but the point is that nowadays most of the teenagers or like the adults like us are inclined towards this kind of like they are they believe in this kind of artificial concept where the robots will meet all their all their insatiable needs. So I just don't find the answer that why this is happening. And on the other side, in most of the cases, people are inclined towards getting married at such tender age. Again, that old custom has been returned in our society that young adults like us who essentially fall between the age of 21 to 25, they are means they are in a rush to marry at such tender age. But on the other hand, they strongly oppose that marriage is very much like marriage is not fruitful. In the case live-in would work, but why this oxymoron is occurring? I just want to know about this. Means I am
Yes,
getting a
yeah.
bit confused.
Yes, I understand. You see, why do people want to buy a robot? Because people have a lot of expectations, and many a times those expectations are not properly met out by the other partner. Okay, so that is why a robot is better, a machine is better than a partner. The machine will not have expectations. You will just give instruction to the machine, and as per the instructions, the machine will try to meet out your expectations as much as possible. And giving answer to your second question, that is, many of the teenagers, especially females, they become very pregnant at a very tender age, which I talked about teenage pregnancy, remember? And because of pregnancy, many a times, maybe the male partners with whom she has engaged into sexual relationship is not willing to marry her. So that is why, due to the fear of, social stigma of, becoming pregnant in the society, the parents many a time urge them to get married. And even if, the females do not become pregnant, they get married because of the coercion of their parents, you can say. And many times they themselves want to get married because they don't want to be involved into so many relationships altogether. They want to be involved in the chaotic relationship. So maybe they think that if they legalize their relationship, that will make the relationship enduring. But at the same time, they are afraid of marriage because, you know, with marriage comes a lot of expectations, responsibilities, etc. Staying with in-laws, husband, it becomes very much difficult for a married working woman, especially, to adjust to it.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for your response.
Thank you so much. Giving answer to the second one, the notion of marriage is being changed. I think, did I give answer to the second question as well?
Yes, I have already given the answer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
But in most of the rural areas, people are not aware of this polyamorous affairs there,
Oh,
and
no.
not only rural areas, but in urban settings also. Our parents hardly accept this kind of plastic love, this concept of polyamorous relationship. They still believe in the binary relationship. Still,
Yeah, because that is where the generation gap lies. You know, they have a different ideology, we have a different ideology, which hardly matches. They will not understand our perspective. Simultaneously, maybe we also don't understand our perspective most of the times. So that is why, since they are from the pre-modern age, remember I was talking about pre-modernity. Since they are from the pre-modern age, they continue to believe in the pure relationship, marriage. That is why they feel that, you know, they are very concerned about us because they are our parents. They think that who will be looking after us during the old age when we become aged. Okay, but they do not understand that, you know, now intimate relationships have become very, you know, diverse. They hardly understand, because again, generation gap, you know, change in the mindset, ideologies, etc.
yes, yes. Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, all the participants, for your active participation. Let me inform to all that this complete session will be available on our Business Rozgar YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it again or want to share it to somebody, please do visit the Business Rozgar YouTube channel. And thanks, and last but not the least, thank you, Miss Madhurima Das Gupta ma'am, for taking out time for session. With your permission, I would like to end today's session here, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.